Hey folks, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor. It's 2022 and this is my December 2021 reading wrap up. So I read 8 things in December, which just let me hit on the last day my goal of 120 books. So tick. There'll be a goals wrap up and set up for the new year video later this month. But yeah, so I read a varying amount of different things. So the first thing I read in December was Kerry Greenwood's The Lady with the Gun Asks the Question. This is a Miss Fisher collection of short stories that was released early last year, I think, or maybe in 2020. Can't remember. But anyway, Miss Fisher. I love Miss Fisher. I love the Miss Fisher books. I'm not sure Miss Fisher really suits short stories. They're sort of, what I love about the Miss Fisher books is the detail and the costumes and the character stuff, and there's really not enough room in a short story for all of that plus a mystery. So not my favourite Miss Fisher book, but still an enjoyable read. Then I read another Jane Austen variation, which was a new one for me, which was Longbourn's Son by Larabah Kendig. In this one, Kitty's twin is a son, a Bennet son. But after Lydia's birth, Mrs. Bennet does pass away. So there's a different family dynamic. Jane and Elizabeth are running the house. The son is really interested in farming, but is not understood by his father. And then the usual suspects come to town and have all sorts of interesting different interactions. So that's a thing. And then I read this novella, which from I think 2020, which is Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. So this is a really kind of interesting story in that it's in a sort of contemporary-ish or near future Africa. And it's science fiction in that it's got space elements, but it feels like fantasy. It feels like an old-fashioned sort of fairy tale mythology kind of thing. But it's basically, and the timeline is sort of, it jumps around, and it flashes back, and then it moves forward. But essentially it's about a girl who used to read the stars, and then there were meteorites or something or other that landed near her village, and there was a seed that she found, like an alien thing. It's not really clear. And anyway, it gave her powers, but the power of death. And so when she gets upset, when she gets angry, until she can control it, anything living around her dies. And it ends up getting stolen from her. And she ends up walking the country searching for this rock seed thing to get it back. And yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really hard to describe. So it's sort of science fiction in its mechanics, but it's sort of mythology in its feeling. It's Nnedi Okorafor. It's really good. I thoroughly recommend it, as I do with every Nnedi Okorafor book, which are always really, really good, but always not always easy to explain or even understand. But yes, it's still very, very good read. So that's Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. Then I listened to the audiobook of The 13 Problems by Agatha Christie, which is one of my favourite Agatha Christie books. It's a Miss Marple, and it's essentially a collection of 13 small mysteries, and this kind of they're basically people telling stories, and the only one that can never solve them is Miss Marple. So there's 13 of them. So I really enjoy that. Then I did finally finish Firefront, First Nations Poetry and Power Today, edited by Alison Whittaker. As you can see, there are sticky notes. I loved a lot of these poems. I probably need to actually go back and put some sticky notes in the last section because I did not take my stickies with me to Tasmania. Thoroughly good read. Like most collections and anthologies, didn't connect with every poem, but I did connect with a lot of them, and it's some really confronting reads, some really emotional stuff, some really funny stuff, sometimes they're song lyrics rather than poems, different structures. Really interesting and really good. Thoroughly recommend everyone in Australia read Firefront. Like, seriously, it's really good, and it's a lot of things in Indigenous voices, like, and the only way you can understand those issues is through the Indigenous voices. So definitely a good read. Then I reread Tansy Rand Roberts' novella from a couple of years ago, Mary Happy Valkyrie, which is her Christmas novella set in Tasmania in a little small town where it snows at Christmas. Yeah, this is a little bit of a queer romance. It's a bit fantasy. It is fantasy. There are magical creatures and journalists. So fun times. Then I actually read the book that my brother gave me for Christmas, which is The Monogram Murders by Sophie Hannah. Now, this is a new Poirot story. I believe it was actually published in 2014. And so there are a few in the series now. It's official Agatha Christie. So you got the official signature on it. So it's approved by the estate. The first new Hercule Poirot mystery. It's a good mystery. I did not pick what was happening. I never do. Also, Poirot, really annoying. Which honestly is what he was like in the original books. Like, he's just, particularly because this is told from the perspective of a new friend who is a detective at Scotland Yard, who gets really frustrated with Poirot running roughshod over him and not telling him things, and you get really frustrated with him. Like, it's just like, oh my goodness. So Poirot is so annoying, but he's always so right. But it was a really fun read, and I read it really quickly after Christmas. So that was awesome. And then the last thing I read in December was an audiobook, and that was, A Handful of Earth and a Handful of Sky, The World of Octavia E. Butler by Lynell George. So I actually picked up that audiobook while I was trying to do Hugo reading, because it was on the best related work list. And it's not a very long audiobook. It's only about 4.25 hours. But it's essentially by someone who has delved into Octavia E. Butler's papers and tried to piece together her writing process, starting from a very young age. It's interesting. I may need to listen to it again with more focus. Also, I've never actually read Octavia E. Butler. I know, I should, but her novels kind of scare me a little bit, because I think they're going to hurt. But yeah, one day I really should read an Octavia E. Butler novel. Like, it's a thing that I really need to do. So, yeah. But I listened to that audiobook, which was good, but I don't think I took it in the way, like, I didn't get as much out of it as I think a lot of other people might. But yeah, particularly if you've read Octavia Butler, or if you're a writer, you'll probably get more out of it than I did, to be honest. And it's only a 4.5 hour audiobook, so it probably wouldn't take all that long to read in text form either. So, but yeah, still worth a read. And that was my December reading. So that was 8 things. I haven't finished anything yet this year. It's only the 2nd of January, so we'll see how we go. Particularly as I've got another week off work yet, so yay. But yeah, that's what I read in December, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye.